Today, I'm going to showcase all the different apps I use through my workflow process, ranging from pre-production to post-production. I think this is a unique kind of video because it goes into the nitty-gritties of how my films are made and how all my projects are originated. So for starters, I keep everything in the Google ecosystem. I like to keep ideas and drafts and scripts all here. And it's easy to share with people and collaborate because I find collaboration to be so important. Then I'll write out the script. I'll range from 1 to 10 to 15 script versions. I technically know that Google Docs is not kosher in terms of the film community, but because I'm a cinematographer and not a writer or director by heart, I just enjoy the easy collaboration and the ability to add comments and see it on my phone. I have used Faden before. It's decent, but I stick to this because I'm not, writing a whole serious thing. One app that I like to keep beside me during this process is ShotDeck. ShotDeck is awesome. I pay monthly for it and I love it. Not sponsored, however, I just love this as a tool to inspire yourself when writing scripts, figuring out the styles, figuring out the moods. I have so many different projects and ideas just coming from ShotDeck, and you can take an example of this and then look into more styles and find unique looks and watch movies that you've never seen before, which I think is incredible. I also use kind of Apple Notes as a tool to really jot down ideas and whatnot. Now, a new tool that I've started incorporating to my workflow that I didn't with this specific film was Satellite 3D. Satellite 3D is essentially a 3D pre-visualization software that allows you to move cameras around and test out different angles before the day. For something like a 48 hour, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, but if you were to, let's say, rent a psych wall or have an upcoming paid client shoot, I find this to be invaluable to spend hundreds or however many hours you need to in this software, and then when you get on day, you know the general gist of how you want to light scenes and how they should look and come up with different ideas. So definitely incorporate this in bigger film projects. Then we're gonna go into editing. Now, for film specifically, this is why I made this video, is I still prefer Premiere, and I know that's kind of an interesting opinion these days, but Premiere gets you a lot of excellent functionality that DaVinci still doesn't have. My main one being the flexibility that the software gets you. I can move everything around, right? So I can technically, move essential sound over here, and if I'm in a specific workflow, I can take away Lumetri and I could put Lumetri right there, or I can move it off entirely or put it. And because it's all flexible, it actually enables me to get much better results. I also find the timeline performance to be better, and I just like how I was raised in Premiere, and so I can't really leave my home entirely. But the reason why I like it for longer form projects is I think it handles the media better, and I am much faster still at it to this day. How I like to approach my projects is essentially organizing all of your footage out, and you organize it scene by scene. So I would essentially do what an assistant editor does, where if you shoot out of order, you arrange all your media in a way that is just all your media on the timeline that you can view. And then I like to sort them by scene and color code them, because this helps me see visually on the timeline what I'm looking at, and I correlate, yellow is the second to last scene. And it helps when looking through media and when you're editing and you realize, oh, what did I miss? Another thing, I like to use the pancake editing technique, which you can do in DaVinci now, but it's not my favorite. But in Premiere, I will basically watch a take back and decide if I think it's good, and then I will move it up a track. So option 1, that helps me visually see where the selects are. So these are all the selects. And then third track is like absolute best. Like you have to include this in the film or you're stupid. So once I have the selects folder, then I end up making a assembly, depending on how big it is, and then I'll really make an edit. So you know, you have your first cuts, and these are super rough. And this doesn't really even have music put together. This just has the rough placement of everything. So once you kind of have all that put together, you go through and you edit this and you cut it down and you kind of make it fit the story. You put in some sound effects and some music. And then I like to actually send this to DaVinci. I do DaVinci for all my color. This project I did sound in DaVinci, but I still like to do sound in Premiere. So what I call it is technically picture lock. So when you hit picture lock, it means that your project isn't moving anywhere. So this would be where I would start to do visual effects and color grading and sound design. So for other projects now, I like to do a bunch of sound design here in Premiere because I think it has better track tools and I like how the tracks perform, and I think Adobe's better at audio still. But as you can see, you know, you have a full edit, you're very happy with it. And it took many cuts to get here, and if this is a longer project, you know, revisions and feedback and client reviews, that I still like to use Google Docs as a way to keep everything straight and organized. So once you kind of have this, I would, you know, if there were some specialty VFX shots, I would work on that here, and I would work on dealing with it to get all those things resolved before we move into DaVinci Resolve. So you can follow a previous tutorial of mine if you want to see how you actually get the projects from Premiere to Resolve. But then what you'll technically do is you'll go in and you will take everything and you'll make sure your edit synced over with the XML. Sometimes there's some little issues, and then you'll go about putting in the audio if audio is not already in, and then obviously doing the color grade. And so I'm doing some screen recording and other stuff in the background, but it's really nice that you can do all this in DaVinci. It's a great tool. I will do another video on my specific color grading workflow, but essentially, you know, I'm taking the raw grade and I'm putting in my look and I'm applying it. This is important, and you'll want to do this in the Rec 709A color space if you're on a Mac. Because it just makes it look that much, it makes you make sure you're looking at an accurate image. But that's basically a general overview of how I move from project to project. Some things to keep in mind is for shorter things like advertisements, reels, and social media work, I tend to actually just edit those in Resolve. And the reason is it's not worth sending the revisions back into Resolve and back and forth. I only do it for things where I can really have a definitive picture lock, if that makes sense. So basically most stuff over 3 minutes, we all kind of move to Premiere. And so I've done some longer documentary work before in the past, and I've always used Premiere for its auto captions, which just work better, text to editing, all that stuff. And the ability, Premiere is really nice because, you know, if you have a VFX shot, you can just send it to After Effects or edit in an Audition or, you know, get some stuff from Photoshop. So there's a lot of power in Premiere still that I think gets overlooked. That being said, for short ads and for stuff that's not that complicated, I actually really like DaVinci because I can do it all in one app and it means I don't have to complicate things. But that's basically a general overview of my workflow.